Okay, so who do we think is the special guest today? We have some people, Bob, are saying my dad. It's not a bad one. Janice is saying James and his biceps. You forgot those, Janice. What's up? Good to see you guys. Ari's dad. We've had my mom on the show. So for those of you who do not know, this guy here looks like he might know. He's got a really good idea, but I feel like, Lucas, I think we've done a good job. I know I have not in the past when it comes to trying to keep the guests hidden, but I think we've done a pretty good job today. Do you think anyone knows?
I think Dylan's the only one that knows. Something tells me he's got some information everyone else doesn't have. But yeah, no YouTube thumbnail shadows that you guys can pick James out from this time.
Exactly. We didn't have a special thumbnail expert today. So, guys, I have an agenda today. Now, some of you are like, what did you do with Ari? Like, Ari doesn't do agendas. I didn't say I was going to follow it, but I did say we have one. And so, what we're going to do today is I'm going to go through the 6 things that we'll talk about on this show. If this is your first time on the show, let us know in the chat. We try to keep this really fun. It's really just us having a nice conversation. Sometimes it feels weird because Lucas and I are just talking into the ether, but we all know that you're there. We are always going to go over a case study and bring in the software and how we can use that for best practices. That's going to come a little bit later. If you are someone who's been on most of the shows, I had this thought earlier. I'm like, if you come to these shows, let's just say 3 times a month, normally we'll try to do it every single week, and someone's coming new for the first time, are you thinking like, do they just think this is absolute chaos? Because that's what I would think. Like if someone's just hopping into the first time, they're like, what on earth is going on? So are you guys excited for these every single week? Are you like, if you guys do it, you do it. Why are you doing it on Thursday instead of Wednesday? I will tell you guys why. And the reason is because last night I had a tasting for the wedding. So at the very end of the live show today, which I know you guys are all begging to know, is it chocolate or vanilla? What's going to be at the wedding? Not obviously. I'm going to go through the whole story as to how I proposed to Alice, my fiance, and we're going to get to learn about when Lucas is getting married. No, I have no idea if that's on your horizon. Lucas, are you even in a relationship?
I'm in a relationship, so I purchased some flowers on Valentine's Day. And I'm just like, between that and between my candy bar moment at the ski resort, I just got root analogies is like my life right now. So I paid 40 something dollars for flowers on Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Priceless. Love is priceless, guys. So seriously, thank you all for being here. There's 1,000 other things you could do, and you chose to be here with us, which we do appreciate. With that being said, is Susie Orman the special guest? Woods, not a bad one. Andy, good to see you. PETA, these are the highlights of my weeks. PETA, you said it perfectly. Just the way I texted you to say it. You didn't put a typo in there. You're my kind of guy. It is chaos every week. Vince, today's going to be more chaos. Always enjoy real-time learning in the dialogue. Mark, even though we're AI, no, we're not AI. Without showing too much emotions, excited, what's up? GA in the house, great learning tool. Can you live stream the proposal? I'm going to have to get some, maybe PETA, if you're there doing trivia with Jay, inside joke for those of you. Flowers and not eggs, Lucas. I mean, how much do you love this person? Guys, keep the comments coming. So here's the agenda for today. You ready? So number 1 is why are we doing this on a Thursday? Because of the tasting I had yesterday, which I'll talk about. But if you want to stay for the proposal story at the very end, once again, you can do that. Number 2, house rich, cash poor. Real quick, guys, put in the comments, have you heard that phrase before? And have you heard the phrase that I made up? It's not real. If you look it up, Safari is going to laugh at you. I call it qualified rich, cash poor. We're going to talk about that. I want to show you guys the coolest thread in the community. Some of you have already seen it, but I really want to show it to you. In terms of why we're really here, it's for our special guest. Our special guest we're going to be introducing in just a few minutes. He's the one, I already kind of gave something away. He's the one that really makes Root go around. And so for those of you going, oh my gosh, is it a new advisor? Is it James's dad who secretly runs the company? Is it James's daughter? Like, I don't know. You're going to get to see in a little bit. Number 5, we have a case study. This is a really good one. I pick someone at random every week. Some of you guys get mad and go, I haven't been picked yet. That's just because I don't like you. No, I don't know all of you. Okay. I'm going to be doing this for a very long time. So if I'm doing this for the next few years, which is, of course, my goal, eventually at some point you probably will get picked. So just know that. And that's what I've got. So here's what I want to start with. Normally, you guys know I'll either bring something up throughout the week. I'll see things and I'll go, I really want to show you guys this. So I'm going to save it for you. Qualified rich. Some of you guys know this phrase, some of you do not, but I want to go over it. And the reason I want to go over this is inside of the community. So for those of you who do not know what this community, the Root Collective is, Lucas is going to drop a link in the chat. But this is someone who says, I never knew you could be qualified rich and cash poor. So what the heck does that mean? So I use my parents as an example often. They are house rich and cash poor. They have a beautiful home in Malibu, but they never want to sell it. Now, they were burned by a few financial advisors, which is why they're still working today. I'm lucky because they love their job, but if it was up to them, they wouldn't work to the extent that they are working. So they have this beautiful home, but they never want to sell it. So there's no actual income it throws off. The difference is a lot of you guys are not house rich, cash poor. You're qualified rich, cash poor. And that's where most of your money is in a 401k or IRA, and you want to retire early, but you kind of can't. And we've got some of you going, that's me. Yep. And that's what the case studies today. So if you're watching right now going, I've got a 401k, I've got an IRA, I know I need to do some conversions or all that other fancy stuff that you and James seem to like, and I pretend not to fall asleep to, then awesome. That's what we're going to be going over in the case study today. The other thing I want to go over, this is just because I was so happy to see this. The Root Collective, which is where all of you guys can communicate here. And some of you are saying, yes, heard the term and have met a few house rich, cash poor. Yep, there's certainly the case. So this here is my favorite thread in the last week in this Root community. And so if you guys have not seen this, Lucas, I'm going to put this in the chat right now so everyone can see it as well. This is my favorite thread. There's so many cool ones like this, but I went and asked people, hey, why'd you choose your career? Like, we're curious. Guys, some of the answers in here are so cool. And so this is me just saying there's so many awesome people that are live with us right now that are sharing their stories. And there was one that was left, it was literally 20 minutes ago. And this is just a highlight of how cool the people are in here. So this person says, how do I find my career? Complete accident. My planned course of action was a geneticist working on the human genome, deferred college for a year because of a boy, the patriarchy. No, they didn't say that. And during the year, said boy decided to start a business. He had no idea what he was doing. Let me move this real quick. He had no idea what he was doing. And his aunt had a copy of QuickBooks for Dummies on her shelf. I picked it up and fell in love with accounting. Weird, but pretty much it. My little teenage self went out and bought a giant pile of old school green lines ledger books and set up a whole system for this idiot boy. He didn't last, but accounting did. Now I have a badass job as the financial controller for a group of live music venues and both get to play with the numbers and catch shows and drink for free. I mean, the stories that are going in here are so cool. So the 100+ of you guys that are live with us right now, thank you again for being here. If you are here live, you get a special seat and there's no ads. So I encourage you to always come live, and it's our job to make it fun for you. If you're watching this as a recording, there might be some ads. In fact, there probably will be, but you will be able to still see the live chat. It's just some of you will chat and then email us, go, why didn't you guys answer the question? Well, we're no longer here with you because this will not be live for you. So with that being said, a few comments coming in here from Mark. The Root Collective boards have some good discussion. I've been on various forums for 30 years, and there's a lot of those on stocks and which one's going to make me rich. And that's not what our community is about. Our community is about finding other people in a similar spot to you that you want to hang out with and love life. What's up, Louisa? Monica here. Monica's an awesome advisor working at Root here. It's so fun to work with such interesting people on a daily basis. Well, how do we find these interesting people? That's what the special guest is today. So I'm going to bring you on, Josh. Josh is our special guest. You are live with us. I'm going to make you the star of the show because that's who you are. Now, a lot of people leave their careers for different reasons, Josh. Some people, I don't see career growth. Other people go, the person who's next to me just smells, even if it's work from home. It's just, even if they're 1,000 miles away, they still smell. Josh is our head of culture here, guys. So for those of you who are going, head of culture, what the heck is that? Josh, can you give an overview of what you do here at Root?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, thank you to you both for having me on. This is an honor. I've been a fan ever since I joined Root, so thank you. Yeah, head of culture. It is slightly unique, and that is intentional. Everything that we do here at Root is intentional. And that is because we are trying to do things different. We are trying to do things better. So when we think about head of culture, and if I can define culture for everyone, culture is really best defined as values plus behaviors. So it really is all about looking inward first, trying to identify what are the values of Root, what are the intrinsic motivators of Root, what makes us go, what allows us to be purpose driven, purpose motivated, and then making sure that we apply the right behaviors, the right rituals, the right practices to those values. Another way to think of that in a more corporate jargon term is ways of working or processes or talent acquisition, HR, those types of things. So applying those things to the unique values of Root, that is kind of the summation of culture and ultimately what I'm responsible for.
Love it. Josh, so some amazing questions coming in, like Andy. Hey, why is everyone at Root just so good looking? Well, Andy, you're too kind. Andy works with Chris. We love you, Andy. But in reality, does every company have a head of culture? Like, I don't even know. Like, is that a standard? Is it we're just so awesome and we get to be lucky to have you? Like, what's the standard?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's defined a few different ways across, corporate America and just the world in general, right? A lot of people already mentioned look at it as like, okay, so are you just your HR, or are you like people operations? And the answer is yes, and. So the way I like to explain it to people is traditionally HR as a function tends to be more of a reactionary department, a reactionary defense. You are there as HR to make sure things don't go wrong. And when they do go wrong, that you have processes in place to protect the employee, protect the company, but you're really there as, unfortunately, kind of a cost center to make sure that you're protecting the organization. Now, when we think about culture, when we think about people operations, that's a lot more of a forward thinking approach. How do you get on offense? How do you actually use the people as your biggest competitive advantage? You hear people, CEOs, others all over say, our people, they're our biggest competitive advantage, but they actually don't do anything with that. That's just a nice thing to say. Luckily for us at Root, and I do say this, and this is going to sound dehumanizing a little bit, but our product really is our people. It's our advisors. Like, that is our product. So not only do we inherently have our people as our biggest competitive advantage, we act on it. And that's really why I'm here. I got to protect our people. I got to protect our product, because the only way that we're able to best serve our clients is if our people, our advisors, our support staff, everyone at Root truly is given everything that they absolutely need to be their best self, so that they can provide the best service, be the best product for our clients.
Amazing. So some questions are coming in. We're going to certainly get to as many of these as we can, but I'm going to tell you guys a super quick story. So when Josh first came on and James brought on Josh saying, hey, all right, we're going to have a head of culture. You're going to get asked a lot of questions as to, is this the right time? Is it too early? Because a lot of people bring on a head of culture or head of people or whatever you want to call it when there's a company that's really big. And now it's like, well, there's no longer a good culture. Go fix it. And James, which makes James, go, hey, I want to bring someone in arguably early, but I'd rather too early than too late. And my first thought, which is what's so awesome about Josh, is so many of you know, my parents had a few different advisors. At one point, there was one advisor they kind of liked. They didn't do a great job, but they liked them. And so my mom was like, look, I know there could be a better advisor out there, but like, look, they like movies. I make movies. So it just kind of works out. Now, I don't think that's why someone should pay someone. But what happened is my mom started to feel that the service wasn't optimal when she was working at this company. And I said, hey, mom, like, do you not like them anymore? They go, no, I'm just not hearing from them as often. And what happened is they still liked their advisor, but a different advisor at that company quit. And guess where those clients went? To my mom's advisor. So now my mom's like, why is my service getting diminished? Well, that advisor, maybe my parents are, one of 250 clients with that advisor. Now maybe they have 400 clients. So I'm thinking, why aren't you talking to my mom? And they're probably thinking, I'd love to. I have 400 clients. I don't get to do that. So what really made me think, wow, I'm so excited we have a head of culture, is if you're a client here at Root, look, imagine advisors were quitting left and right. Well, that would really suck for you because then your service gets diminished. Now you have to meet someone every 5 years. The joke in our industry is it's called Who's Lewis, where you like your advisor, it's going really well. And then you
Right.
go into Zoom and you're like, who the heck are you? Like, who's Lewis? And so a lot of questions are coming in, and it's not about anything I just said, which is what I think is really cool about culture. Are there any questions coming in, Josh, that you're like, oh, I really want to tackle one of these?
Yeah, there's a good one here around identifying this inflection point between growth and culture, and being like, honestly, two things that are constantly at odds with one another, or there's this friction between the two. And you hear this all the time, like everyone's trying to keep a company small, right? How do you keep that small feeling? And there is inherently fear amongst the employees that, like, oh man, if we get too big, like what we've built here is just going to get diluted. I'm not going to know the person that I work with anymore. I'm not going to be able to talk to this human being that I loved interacting with. Decisions are going to start being made where I have no clue what's happening. So there is this desire to stay small, which, to the question, is inherently in friction with the desire to grow as a business. So when I think about how do you combat that, I believe the best way to make something feel small, even though you are trying to grow as a business, is how do you get everyone aligned with ultimately the mission, the vision, the purpose of the company. So if everyone believes in the thing that they're doing, no matter whether you get to talk to that employee or not, or you ever meet them, say you're like a 3,000 plus person company, or you're a Google, right? There's going to be employees that you never, ever meet. But if the hiring team, if the talent acquisition team, if the culture of the place is cemented and grounded in this kind of universal single through line of whatever that purpose or mission or vision is of your company, then you kind of have this almost like unseen connection, despite how big you get. All that to say, like, that is something we are so unbelievably fortunate here at Root, where we have such an opportunity to grow, right? And we have grown. This time last year, I think we had 12 employees. Today we have 41, right? So the growth is happening, but because of James, and he has always put the people first, hence why I am here. It's the only reason why I am here. Every decision we make goes back to, how is this going to impact our people? How is this going to impact our employees? We will not just go out and gobble up another firm or bring on a bunch of advisors to chase after this growth, because we know if we do that the wrong way, it will negatively impact what it is that we're building here. So you got to focus on the purpose, mission, values, and you got to dial in your processes to make sure that you're building a foundation that you can scale upon that.
Beautiful. Lucas, I'll come to you in just a second. But what's really cool about just these live shows is the wide range of people here. There are clients here. There are people like Peyton here, who's already sent me multiple messages on LinkedIn to say, hey, I want to work at Root one day, and this company just feels different. And I know I could go to a traditional firm, but to be honest, that just doesn't sound as fun. So like, what do I need to do? What skills, whether it be learning about tax strategies or estate planning? But to be honest, if I have all these skills, but I'm not like stoked to be at work, well, I'm not really going to want to be there. So like, are you guys being intentional about that? And that goes to the point, like Shannon works on the team here at Root. You know, it's 5:20 in Texas where Shannon is. We have team members on here. Lucas, he's in Florida. Yeah, we let people from Florida be on the team, guys. I know we're really kind people. And where Lucas is staying after a full work day to be here. So we really want this to be a place where if you're a client, you're like, wow, this feels different. And if you want to work at Root, it feels different. And that's what I think is really special. Lucas, any specific questions coming in that you want Josh to address?
Yeah, one of my favorite ones that I can almost answer, but I'd love Josh's input as well, is this one from Warren. And he's like, how long did it take to learn and pick up Root culture? And that's probably for Josh. But I mean, for myself and for Josh, that was not something that just happens once we get here. We don't get hired and then everyone's like, oh, let's figure out now how to apply our values upon the person we just hired. It's identifying that beforehand. Josh had been eyed for this role long before his first day, right? And that's the type of process that we like. The question I submitted on an old show James did was like 3 years before I submitted an application. I'd asked, how do you do independent advising as a career, right? And Root at the time had 3 employees, right? And so that was 3 years before I even submitted an application, but that process had already started and that transformation had already occurred. And I went and worked 2 other places before I came here, right? And so I think that it's not something that you just come here and then gets applied to you, because good culture is infectious, but it's something that's inside you as well. And I think that the employees that are on here in the chat, like I commented earlier, is a testament to that, right? They want to see their coworkers on the show, and everyone's working together. But Josh, I'd love your view of being farmed to come work at Root.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's so cool about still being at the size that we are, referrals is like a #1 strategy for us in terms of like getting the best people. We really do feel like we have the best people already, and we know that good people attract good people. So that is definitely a big strategy of ours in terms of referrals, kind of bringing people into the Root ecosystem through what Ari does, through what James does, our marketing, our content, right? We've met so many people by just opening our doors and kind of opening the curtain to what we do here, just being extremely transparent, which I think is rare. But I love when I get to interview people and they tell me, gosh, I have been following along and I've been following your story for such a long time. That immediately just kind of creates that connection, and already, truthfully, transparently, tells me a little bit something about you. Like that means that you believe in what we're doing here. You believe in the message, you believe in our mission, and ultimately how we're trying to help people get the most out of life with their money. So just following along Root is a really great way to be connected without even ever actually meeting someone at the company. Now, in terms of how I was able to, I guess, pick up the Root culture, it really just started with listening, right? So something we say here at Root is like, how can you be quick to listen and so to speak? So how can I just listen to the employees to the best of my ability? My first month or so was truly just meeting every single person at the company and listening to them, talking about, hey, what's working? What isn't working? Why do you love it here? What are things that are happening at Root that aren't really allowing you to kind of be that best version of yourself? We talk about values a lot. And I think a lot of companies get it wrong, because when a new employee comes in, they say, hey, new employee, here's the company's values. Place them on your head. And if you do not live them out, then that's going to be a problem. Versus our approach is bring in people who already intrinsically have those values. And then it's on Root. It's Root's fault, Root's problem, if we're not allowing you to live those values out in your day-to-day. So, right, for example, our current values are love your work, go the extra mile, and walk the talk. Those 3 things are already a part of every single employee that works here. They already intrinsically love what they do. They already, based on their personality, love to go the extra mile for their teammates, for their clients, for their family members, and they already have the integrity to walk what they talk. So it's actually on Root if we don't allow you to live out those things day to day in what you're doing at work or at home.
Amazing. So, Josh, I know we don't get you for too long, but I just want people to hear a little bit as to like why, like you could have gone to a gazillion other places. Like that's the reality. Those of you who don't know this, Josh is way too humble. He was doing content for really big companies. He was at GoPro. He was at, I just know you were filming Cristiano Ronaldo, which obviously made me very jealous. And I'm still waiting for that hookup, but you're going to see him next week on the show. No, I'd need a lot of money to get him to come on the show. But maybe if we give him a good Roth conversion strategy. No, he doesn't need that. But
We'll
Josh,
get him as a client.
where did you come from before this? because I
Yeah.
think it actually is cool because most people are coming from another financial firm or,
Yeah.
hey, it's just they don't really get kind of our world. And so if you don't mind sharing just kind of where
Yeah.
you were before and why you do this now.
Yeah. My background is very unique. And ultimately where I started, you talked about GoPro. I started there. It was very exciting right out of college, pre-IPO, experienced a ton of growth, experienced one of the best cultures, imaginable, in my opinion. But it also experienced the deterioration of those things as well. So when I was at GoPro, I was actually a creative director there. So I led the creative team for our brand marketing department. So I spent about 7-8 years doing that. I then moved over to more of a performance marketing role at a direct consumer everyday carry brand here in San Diego. And then really kind of the turning point, if I had to look back, was when I took a job as a brand marketer for a company called Exos. Now, Exos is all about human performance. They have two things that they focus on. One is the professional athlete, so helping the professional athlete get ready for basically, the season, for the game, recovering. Professional athletes come to Exos to get ready to play at their best. What they also do is they do that exact same thing, but for corporations. So they work with organizations to help optimize human performance within their employees. So that's really where I took a love for this idea of how do I optimize human beings in the corporate environment? How do I really galvanize this idea of burnout prevention? How do I really get behind this process focused intention of getting corporate employees, giving them the motivation, the purpose, everything that they need so that they can show up to work every day to perform at their best, the same way that athletes have to do that on the field. So ultimately, all of that brought me to this idea of brand culture. How do I infuse identity into culture and help employees be at their best every single day?
Love it. Love it. Tony, kind of like Wendy Rhodes. Have you seen Billions, Josh?
I haven't. I have not.
Okay.
I am
It's
sorry.
a good show. Now, Tony, we don't try to keep the drama at root to the degree they do in Billions. But there are some pieces of that where basically Wendy, her role is to not just make sure everyone's loving their job at the company, but the word you said, I forget the exact word, you correct me, Josh, but it was like not bad apple, but like how do you make sure that it's like so sacred what we have here that one person doesn't come in and then all of a sudden things get screwed up? And that's kind of Wendy's role. I know that's not perfect, Tony, but that's what he's referencing there.
Yeah, I would say everyone talks about, okay, employee recognition, employee engagement. And there's a lot of strategies around that, right? Like how do we retain employees? How do we attract employees? What are the little perks that we can add to, our benefits package? There's so many little tactical things that people focus on in terms of like little small movements of the needle here and there to keep employees happy. But the reality is, all the pressure is actually on the talent acquisition side. So it starts with who you bring into the building, right? And I think all of us can think of a time in our career where, hey, I loved my job, right? The comp was great, the benefits were great, the perks were great, the brand was cool, how we worked, the process, everything was so dialed. I felt so connected to the mission and the purpose of what I'm doing. But man, the guy or gal I work with is rough. That quickly becomes the worst job you have ever had. So I truly believe that one person, and I've experienced it myself, to be honest, story for another time, where I thought I had it all, but one person came in and that became the worst job I have ever had, right? So it all starts with making sure and putting so much emphasis on who do you bring into the building? How do you get so good at your talent acquisition process to make sure that you mitigate that to the best of your ability. And lucky for us, we just brought on an awesome guy, Dylan Thorwaldson, who is going to be taking over that entire process and truly making it like my whole focus is to make sure that Root brings in the best employees possible, which is going to be really awesome. And we're stoked to have them.
Love it. So last thing I've got for you, Josh, unless you want to leave anyone with anything, is we talk about NPS scores. And NPS score stands for Net Promoter Score. For those of you who don't know, I'll simplify it to basically say like how happy are clients, but I know there's a way deeper way of looking into it. And so I'm going to put in some insight into the chat. But Josh, do you mind explaining? And we also have a LinkedIn article that we reference. So I'm going to drop this in the chat as well, so that in case you guys want to click on this, you can follow along to see what our NPS score is and kind of how we factor this into everything. And then that's the last thing I've got for you, Josh. But anything you want to add on that?
I love it. Yeah. So NPS, Net Promoter Score, like you mentioned, ton of companies use it. And ultimately the emphasis is on the word promoter there. So not to call you out, Ari, but there is an assumption that this is client satisfaction or customer satisfaction, but it's actually best defined as like your loyalty, your client loyalty. How likely are they to recommend your given service or product? So it's really that slight kind of nuance around loyalty and recommendation, and like, right, promoter, how likely are you to promote this product or service? And how it's scored is a little bit unique. It goes all the way down to -100 and up to +100. And it's one simple question. It's one question, which is how likely are you to recommend this service? And so you can score between 0, I think it's 0 and 6. That's a detractor. 7 to 8 is passive. And then 9 to 10 is a promoter, right? So promoter is actually really, really hard because that means it's 9 to 10. In order to calculate that, you subtract the percentage of detractors from the percentage of promoters, right? So just a quick example, if 10% of the respondents are detractors, so 0 to 6, 20% are passive, 7 to 8, and 70% of the people are in that 9 to 10, your score would be a 60, right? So you're thinking, okay, 70%, 9 to 10, that's got to be a higher score. It's actually not. 60. 60 is really, really high, really good. So the fact that Root got a 90 is actually insane and kind of unheard of. And it's just such a testament to like our focus on the quality of advisor that we bring in, and our focus on making sure, from my seat, our advisors have everything that they need to be as successful as they possibly can. So just super proud of that. And not to throw the financial services industry under the bus a little bit here, but the average across the financial services industry is a 44. Okay. So Root is at 90, which again is pretty incredible.
Love that. And I appreciate the clarification there. I feel like my parents may have been, and he said it can go to a -100. I feel like they were at -1,000 at some of their firms. But Josh, seriously, thank you for being here. We are so lucky to have you as part of Root, and we definitely want to have you back on the show at some point. Guys, you can email me different questions. If you go, oh, I wish we could have got to this with Josh. Josh, as long as you had fun, we'd love to have you on again. So thank you again for being here.
Let's do it. Thank you guys. You guys rock. Appreciate everyone.
See you, dude.
Bye.
Guys, so you see why we brought on this guy? I mean, there are so many things that we do that I go, we could easily not do this. And you guys like wouldn't know. Like you wouldn't know for a long time if we didn't have a head of culture. But the reality is you'll go, well, service is still awesome. And it's because we're doing these things in the back end that we really don't have to do, but we want to. In the same way that some of you guys will say, hey, why don't you guys drop the minimum and help more people? Like you said, you like helping people. I'm not really seeing that. Well, I'll talk about that in detail now, because some of the things that I think you guys are aware of, but I just want to make sure you truly get it, is it's not like we got into this business to go, we only want to help a certain amount of people. I put out a post and I want to find it real quick. And Love it. Guys, let me know. Was that helpful? Josh was awesome. Super chill guy. Yeah. We don't want someone to come in and be telling, hey, why aren't you working hard enough? And I saw you logged off at this time. Like, one of the things I love most about Josh is like, I'll respond to something later if I get home from soccer and, I want to make sure I don't forget this one thing. And it's really easy to be like, oh, I feel guilty because there's like a Slack message. If any of you guys have Slack at your company, you're like, should I respond to that? I don't really know. I mean, technically I'm out of office. And then, well, what if the person responds back to you? Now I'm in like a text thread, and I don't want them to think that I saw it, but I didn't respond. And Josh is like, hey, when you're not working, like, don't work. Like, work-life balance is important. And I also need to work on that. So with that being said, I'm trying to remember what this was called. Lucas, I don't know if you could recall, but I put it in the community, and it was something about the minimum, but I forget what I titled it. So this
Yeah, you
might
titled it like, "Why do you only work with the uber wealthy?"
Uber. Oh, you're a legend. Okay. Yes, I don't know how you know that and how you know everything, but this was a thread in the community once again, and this is a real email I got. But they said, "How nice of you to only help the uber wealthy," and they said this. They said, "You say financial planning should be available to all investors, despite the stage of life they're in, but only work with people over 2 million plus. How nice of you to get our hopes up just to only help the uber wealthy." And we have different options. The first thing is, I just thought that was funny. My dad literally is Homer Simpson, but people, a lot of you guys put awesome things in here of, hey, you can't please everyone. You're going to die trying. You got to find out like, who can you really help? Some of you guys have some really insightful comments here. So I want you to know, like, we see them. And some of these I want to highlight were regarding, where was it here? Yeah, the kind of uber wealthy is a matter of perspective, of course, but some people are kind of throwing different ideas in here. And even this is Anita. Anita, I don't know if you're live with us now, but Anita works with Katie, one of our awesome advisors. And she's going, hey, you guys give all this free advice plus access to the software if people just want to gut check. You can only do what you can do. But there's others of you that will send me notes, and I'm not going to bore you guys to death with every single comment in there, but say, hey, what about this idea where you help people, but maybe you talk to them less often if they only have a certain amount of money or this or that. And we're not married to this strategy. We want to help as many people as we can, but we don't want service to suffer. And that's our biggest worry, to be honest. So I totally agree, Susan. Uber shouldn't be capitalized. So consider the source. Love that. Lucas to the rescue, as always. Burning Helix. Yeah, live on Slack 24/7. That's probably, do you feel like there's an obligation like Burning Helix? Like, I actually want to hear from you. Is that something that you're like, yeah, like, I'm kind of joking right now, but honestly, I feel like if I'm not on Slack, I'm kind of a slacker. So therefore, that's why I'm doing it. Scott, I know you're here at Root. Hey, you love getting to see under the hood. Awesome. Laura and Shane, I know you work with Caleb and Brandon. Thanks, Josh. Great insight into Root's culture. Awesome. So with that being said, we're going to head into the case study today. What I want to pull up here is a few different things. So give me 2 seconds, guys. Now, this case study today, many of you guys will ask, okay, how do I get this? Let me pull it up for you. And so this is the case study. This is the software. Many of you know this. If you're unaware, this is where we say, hey, if you're looking for more of a gut check, hey, am I on track? Loosely, call it a temperature check, whatever you want to call it. That's what I think the software is really good for. I'm going to interrupt myself, as I do often. Some of you guys will say, Ari, it's kind of annoying because you start talking about something and then you get really excited and forget what you were talking about before. And that's when I'll reply and say, sorry, I really wasn't listening. What were you saying? No, I won't do that. But I'll, in those cases, go, of course, that's why Lucas is here to save the day. But I want to interrupt because this person right here, Burning Helix, responded to us all here, who says, like, LOL, but a little bit of both. Like, people genuinely need help all the time, but the Slack advice channel doesn't help too. So I feel bad if someone's working at Root feeling like they have to be on all the time, and then they're probably not going to want to work at Root long term. And so we want to create a place where people feel they can do great work, but they're not pressured to not go above and beyond, because people are going to go above and beyond that work here at Root because of how many people apply to get in to do what we're doing. But I don't want them to feel like it's a requirement. So with that being said, this is the case study. Inside of the community, you can all go ahead and essentially comment and say, hey, I want a case study on my situation. Can't guarantee I'm going to get to every single one by next week. In fact, by next, 10 years from now, but I'm going to do as many as I possibly can because I love this stuff and I'm never going to stop. Now, with that being said, I want to show where you guys can go ahead and put that insight in. So I'm going to go back to I call it the community because that's really what it is, but we're going to refer to it as the collective because that's really what it's called. Now, are you guys in the collective right now? I'm going to take a quick pause and chat with us. Are you guys in the collective right now? And if you are, awesome, because I have a request. And the request is something that might seem untraditional, but that's pretty much me in a nutshell. And so this was something that was really cool that happened today. So I just want to share it briefly before getting to the case study. So guys, let us know. We're not seeing the chats come in. Are you in the collective? This was one of our advisors came to me and said, Ari, we have someone that we just helped retire early. He's a really cool guy, but he needs new ideas. Like he's kind of worried to retire, not financially, but like, what's he going to do? Who's he going to hang out with? So I dropped this in 4 hours ago. Hey, client we helped retire early was sharing some interesting thoughts. He feels weird retiring because he's younger than his peers. What are some of just your favorite things you've done? And thank you guys. You're all like, yep, we're in it. Perfect. How do you deal with retirement knowing everyone around you is still working? Now, you can even give insight on this if you're still working. And some of you guys are like, oh, like you guys are so nice that you'll send me notes like, all right, I didn't want to respond in this thread because I don't feel like I have the insight that I deserve to comment there. It's like, no, you can go in there. And the collective, we're dropping the link in there. So if you want, you can go in there. Thank you, LSU Tigers. Like, yep, I'm looking at it on the other monitor. So guys, like go help not just our clients, but each other. And so you can see here, hey, I was a voluntary culinary instructor. I'd recommend moving to a small fishing village. And you can see others are like, hey, that's a perfect plan. Not too early for me. Definitely want to slow down and live life with meaning. And then I like even Dale here. Hey, I'm not yet retired. It's going to happen, but we're going to do travel. We're going to do this. And some ideas just might not apply to you at all, but there might be a few that are really interesting. And some of you guys are putting tricks, stay in contact with friends I made at work. Well, this guy's retired, so that doesn't really help. But there's others that are really interesting. And I just want to encourage you guys, hey, there's a list of things I think most of us would love to do, whether it be volunteers, whatever it is. But you can also like take no credit classes at the community. And you can learn, I wouldn't learn electrical or plumbing because nothing would ever work, but you guys can do this. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. And this reminds me, because Lucas, I almost just forgot. The reason I was also bringing this up is regarding the case study. If you're in the collective and you go to the top here, it's a pretty cool search function. And so you can just search case study and you'll see it'll pop up right here, right at the top. And so you can click on this one. And all I need is for you to be in the academy so that I can see your information. And I will do my best to get to that at some point. If you're willing to be on camera, like 2 weeks ago when we brought on Bridget, I'm going to prioritize that, but I'm going to try to get to these as many as I can. So Lucas, anything else you want to say on that before the case study?
Yeah, just a really quick shout out here. We have a collective member who it was one of the first or second posts ever in the collective, built their own airplane and flies it. And I remember me, you, and James all were on right when it first launched. And we were just like, we have AI vending machines and people building their own airplanes already. So just shout out right here. Yeah.
That is so sick. That is so sick. Okay, so guys, here's the case study. You're all going to get to chat with Lucas in depth because I'm going to go into it. When I get into it, guys, I get lost. It's like I'm just going in and all my thoughts start flowing. And obviously, I'd love to bring on this person, but they did not want to be on camera. And I totally respect that. And so if that's something any of you guys want, always an option. I know it sometimes hits better when you can see them and ask them questions, but I'm going to make a lot of assumptions here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through this case study. It's going to be a ton of fun, and we're going to hop in right now. So the first thing is we have to learn about this couple. Okay, 52, years old, spouse also 52, and 2 children. Sometimes we'll call them leeches. Just kidding. But 19 and 16. And so awesome little family here. You can see their assets. They've done really well. Now, they've got about $80,000 in the bank. They've got different investments we're going to talk about in just a second. They have their home, a small mortgage. Right off the bat, like, first of all, they deserve a pat on the back because it's not easy to get to this point. And one of my pet peeves, I have a few, but one of them is when advisors are like, "Oh, aren't you grateful? Like I helped you retire." I'm like, They did the work. We just showed them the work." So this is the furthest thing from me taking credit, and the biggest thing I want to reiterate is like, "Hey, good job, guys." Now, could they have done things better? Of course, all of us could have, but they're in a really good spot. So with that being said, let's get a sense to that. Do you guys remember what I said at the beginning of today's live event? I talked about that house rich, cash poor. That's not this couple. You can see here, they have a home. Yes, there's equity in the home, but it's not so significant that they don't have cash or other investments. House rich, cash poor would be as if this couple had a home worth $6 million and $1 million in their investments. And hoy, one day I will get my own leeches, but no kids on the horizon for now. So you can see here the breakdown. It's interesting. They have, interesting to me and Lucas. So you can see they have a few 529 accounts. Awesome. Many of you don't know, but if you do not end up using that 529 account, you don't just say goodbye. It can go to a Roth IRA. It can go to another family member. You have options here. Brad says, I call them our little tax deductions, but they're not little anymore. I like that one, Brad. So they have their superhero account. That's the brokerage account. You can see it's at Vanguard. They have a Roth IRA. They have a rollover IRA. They have another Roth IRA, another rollover IRA, 401k, and HSA. So they're in a good spot. Now, the first thing that I will see is, okay, obviously there's a good amount of pre-tax assets, 1.3 in a rollover IRA, which means it came from a previous company, a previous 401k. Spouse also rollover IRA. So that's 2 million in pre-tax, plus they've got another 850,000 in what I'm going to assume is their current 401k. So there's about $2.8 million in pre-tax investments. Now, that's not a bad thing. This is money that you contributed. You got a deduction for it. That's why you do it. It saves you in taxes that year. It grows tax deferred. And then in the future, you eventually have to pay taxes on it. And so what I would love to see, and I don't know anything about this person, but he told us he's 52. We know a little bit about their family. Let's see when he wants to retire. Now, Lucas, I'm going to let you guess. I have no idea. I have not looked at this. I do this for the first time for everyone, just so that we're on the same page here. I'm going to guess 55, but I don't know. What do you think he's going to say, Lucas?
I have to be honest. The page is loading right now. I was going to cheat. No, I would guess like 54, 55.
54. Okay, let's see. So 59. Oh, so okay. Now a lot of people will put this in their software just to say, look, I actually do want to retire earlier. It's just 59 is what I'm going to have as my placeholder. And so what we can see is, as of today, 59 is what they're putting as their retirement age. They want to spend $9,000 a month. So $108,000 every single year after taxes adjusted for inflation. Common question here. So we're going to just go ahead and touch on this. And Susan's going, thank goodness. I thought we were the only ones with a scrolling page of accounts. How'd it get so complicated? Susan, this is pretty simple. Like, we'll all see people with 20, 30 accounts, and you don't get any extra points for that. And I actually recommend consolidating when possible. So Susan, you are certainly not alone there. So $9,000 a month, this is their retirement expenses. So let's assume this person said, I want to keep my mortgage for 30 more years, which I've never had anyone ever say that, just hypothetical. Well, this would be $9,000 a month plus their $2,000 a month mortgage. So we just always need to remember, okay, what are the true expenses? And I'll show you guys how to look at this in a cool way in a second. Next thing is, I see a placeholder for long-term care. No issues there. $40,000 a year for travel. Okay, let's see, how long is he planning that? Okay, so this guy's getting real serious about this, which I like, because most people go, I'm going to travel, I'm going to spend $20,000 a year. I'm like, no, you're not. It's going to depend on a million other things. And so he's starting it in 2032, which I assume is when he's planning on retiring. And it's going to end when he's 85. Now, I think there's nothing wrong with doing that. I'd prefer to do it a different way. I'd prefer for his goal to start as soon as he retires. So I'm going to go switch that for him. And the reason for that is, if he were to leave it just as he said before, in I think it was 2032, and you move one other thing in the software, you're having your plan that travel start in 2032. What if we show him retiring next year? Do you guys think he's going to travel more or travel less? He's probably going to travel more because now he's retired. So I'm cool with it ending at 85, but I always like this to be on retirement. And the reason for that is it's going to tie in nicely to everything else going on here. So we can go ahead and see this person's put a lot of goals. We're not going to go through every single one, but different college goals, new cars every 5 years, healthcare. Looks like he wants to downsize, cars for the daughter, potential inheritance to his daughter, son. So it looks like they have big legacy goals of 3 million to each. I actually recommend that people don't put these here, and I'll explain why in a second. Pre-retirement. So these are vacations they're taking today. Home improvements, HVAC, bathroom remodel. I actually like this. Some of you are like, do I really need to get that specific? You don't need to, but there's a big peace of mind associated with having kind of your dream life built out. So the first thing I'll do with clients, I'll go, hey, are you dreaming here? Like, is this you like living the life you want to live? And if they're like, oh yeah, like 9,000 a month is like, honestly, I don't even think I'll need that much. Awesome. Then I'm totally cool with this. But if this person were to be like, 9,000 a month's good, but like I'm not really living the way I want to live. It's just I'm kind of getting by. Well, then I would encourage you to dream bigger than that. Now, let's look at their income. Let's see if we've got some big ballers on our hand. Okay. So we can see Dave brings in 162,000 a year. He's got a bonus of 80,000 a year. Wife brings in 95,000 a year. We see Social Security. We see Dave is projected to have a pension. We see Dave's projected to have inheritance. And then he's putting in these other cards because he wants to model out, should I do these conversions or what if I work part-time? He's putting a maybe on here. There's so many different things. So some of you are like, OMG, I don't have this detail. Am I not going to be okay? No, like you don't need to do this detail, but this is awesome for someone like me to see. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the retirement tab. And when we click on this tab, I want everyone, if you're following along on your own, and I like LSU Tiger here, I do the typical college, cars, weddings, remodel, hobby projects, all good there. Is if you click the analysis tab here and then you click comparisons, we can see what is this person on track for. So right now, this is what's kind of deceiving. And this is where I would actually encourage this person not to rely fully on the software. And some of you are like, really? Because it looks like that graph's going up. And I think I'm liking some up vibes. Okay. Are you saying if it goes down, you'd be more comfortable? I'm saying that's exactly right. No, that's not right. Okay. I don't want the graph to go down. But there are people that reach out like, oh, I'm really excited. I want to retire. And I think I have the assets to do it. And I'll say, you're absolutely on track for retirement, but you should not retire. And they're like, look, are you just trying to be fancy? Like, why are you talking that way? And I'll say, no, the reality is your retirement looks great, but it's these first 3 to 5 years that I'm worried about, because where's income going to come from? What if their child decides they want to go to grad school and it turns out markets don't do well and there's healthcare and there's travel and their spouse decides, well, you retired and I want time with you. So can we hang out? Well, now there's a big risk, which is that we get unlucky in the first few years. And then now all of a sudden, the rest of our retirement's very different. I'm not saying they're not going to be okay. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they have specific goals. They mentioned $3 million in legacy goals to each of their children. Awesome. I want them to dream big like that. But if they get unlucky because markets don't do well and they retire earlier, which I'm not saying that's going to happen, but a lot of you are going to run these projections to go, when's the earliest this person could even retire? The reality is it's 55. Because that's when they could start with something called the rule of 55, which I'd often actually encourage against in many situations, but it's a good option. If we were to just switch and say, hey, they both get to stop working at 55, and I'm going to leave everything else because it looks like they put a lot of work into that. But let's just assume markets, for whatever reason, they just prefer a more conservative approach, which I am not saying that is them. Just 2 quick assumptions here. If I click refresh there, you're still going to see they're going to be okay. It's not a question of okay. But you can see all I did was say they still get to spend and do everything they want here, long-term care, downsizing, legacy, all of this awesome stuff. And so what you can see is that they're okay, but all I did is, and when I say all I did, I mean, I did say they get to stop working 4 years earlier than initially projected. So all I did is not a small matter here. But if this is their goal to legitimately leave a lot of money to children and do different things, look, they could be okay, but do you really want to cut it that close? And most people, I find they don't. And so some of the comments are coming in going, hey, this is spot on. Homeowners need to book in for residing, windows, upgrades, roofing, storm repairs, house essential. Susan is saying, the Academy helped my husband and I realize we need to pivot our saving strategy so we will have the income needed without the penalty before 59 and a half. Great points from both of you guys here. But really, the opposite could occur as well. Like, what if I just click one button here and I just say, let's assume this person goes, look, I'm comfortable with growth. I mean, I'm not saying crazy growth, but markets don't bother me. Okay, well, all of a sudden it's going to make the plan also look like they're still in a really good spot, which they are. But this is not my concern with this couple. My concern with this couple is, what is their saving strategy today? Because if we go to their savings today, I can go see. It looks like Dave, I almost said Doug. I don't know why. I thought of Doug from The Hangover for some reason. Maybe I think that he'd have a lot of money. But Dave here, $0, not adding money to his 401k, maxing out the HSA, 529, still putting money into there, and then doing about 12,000 a year to the brokerage account. So a lot of you are thinking, hey, why doesn't this person put more to the superhero account? Why? Well, guys, I don't want this guy to like not live. Like, some of you are like, why don't people just put as much money as possible into that brokerage account? Because that's the most important account that where he's lacking. What I love is this person's not, under my assumption, freaking out, going, oh my gosh, am I not going to be okay? He's just trying to optimize. And so for him, he's probably thinking, should I do 401k, a Roth 401k? And I'm almost saying, I'd want you to take advantage of the match at your work, because that's free money. And that's really hard to decline. And I don't recommend that. But anything beyond that, yeah, I love this brokerage account idea. But you know what I love more than that? I love part-time income. And the reason I love part-time income is because this is something that, if this person found a job he really enjoyed and could do it for a very long time, it's going to make a way, way bigger impact. And the reason for that is, let's assume he brings in 30,000 a year. I think that was his goal here. Maybe it was a little bit different. Let me go to income here in the future. He went to maybe part-time job of 20,000 a year. I have people that go, oh, 20,000, you're not even going to like me anymore as a client. You're probably going to fire me because I made like 100,000, 200,000, 500,000. And I'll say, I'm really happy. And they'll be like, are you just like being nice? Because on YouTube, you say you're the meanest advisor. Are you just like, is that a front just so that today you can tell me you're really nice? And I'll go, yes. No, I don't say that. I go, no, the reality is you bringing in 20,000 in a single year makes a big deal, because that's 20,000 less that needs to come from your 3 million, which lets that keep growing and compounding, which is way more valuable than you working a job that you don't really love, where you're doing it. But if this person was bringing in 250,000 a year, but miserable, which I don't get that sense, because he said he's willing to work till 59, but he's already thinking about part-time jobs. What I would consider for this person, let's go to his card here and just kind of play out a scenario. Once again, he's doing calendar year. He's thinking, maybe I retire. How old would he be at that point? So he's thinking, I think it would 59, he'd retire. And then he'd do something, he doesn't know what, but for 5 years, then he'd be 64. CFP guys over here. You see that right there? So then I'm going to switch this to retirement. So I'm going to say, once he retires, he's going to do part-time work, and he wants to do it for 5 years. Totally cool with me. But I'm going to show a different option. And the reason I'm going to show it a little differently, just for you guys, I'm going to delete it in here. Now, I'm going to tell you guys why I'm going to delete it. Now, I'm going to delete it because I want to add it in a way that you guys are going to get to see it. Now, some of you are going to freak out right now, okay? So don't freak out on me. But I'm going to add a new card, and I'm going to do this. Once again, everyone remember this. This is a software designed for advisors. So we can put all of your goals on here. But yes, you're going to see Lucas and I's big heads are in the way, so you're not going to be able to see it. But I'm going to try my best. You're going to see, Lucas, you're a wizard. Thank you for that. So you can see there's an edit button. There's a refresh button. I think you guys have the refresh, but not the edit, unless you're, yeah, I think that's for everyone. Because once again, guys, this is designed for advisors. So we can turn on all of your goals. You just need to email us at collective@rootfinancial.com, and we can turn on everything if you want your screen to look like this. But I can go in only from the advisor, and I can add a new item. So I'm going to do this. It's not like I have access to something you guys don't. You get the same access. I'm just showing it to you guys because I want to kind of do it together. You can do exactly what I'm doing. You just do it in the profile section. Okay. So I'm going to add in a goal and we're going to do it together. I'm going to show you why I want to do this. Now, a lot of you are like, look, if I can stop working, I'm no longer working in any capacity. Great. This doesn't need to apply to you, but it's something to consider. So what you're going to see, Hoy here is going, until we all become advisors at Root. Okay, Hoy, we'll work on that. So I'm going to put in the same thing he said, 20,000 a year. And let's assume he does that as soon as he retires. And let's assume he just likes it. So he's going to do it for 10 years. Okay. So he really enjoys it. And why am I going to put that on? Well, the reason I'm going to put that on is I want someone to just not believe me and go, oh, you sound like a nice guy. I'm going to put this give me 1 second. I'm going to reset this to the original goals here, which I know you guys don't have all the same exact buttons, but you can go do it in here. And so what you can see, the only thing on my screen is this person still retiring at 59. Then you can see his income looks great. Assets look great. All of this looks awesome. And it looks like there's $364,000 more dollars. So what this is saying, so we're clear, is if this person decides to work part-time, makes 20,000 a year from 59 to 69, there'd be 300,000 more dollars. But he probably doesn't want to do that. That's just the reality. I imagine he doesn't want to work till he's 70, basically. So we're going to go, this person stops at 55. And the reason we're going to do that is because if he stops working at 55, you're going to see, yeah, there's a big impact because that's way more years where there's no longer income coming in. Now, they can still do everything they want to do. So their plan still looks great. But let's assume they're doing part-time income as we put in here. So we can go see it right here. This little green dot, part-time income. And let's assume he finds something he really likes. So in 3 years, he's like, hey, I'm going to do something. I think I'm going to like it way more. And so I could see myself doing that for longer because I actually enjoy it. Okay, well, just to use this as an example here, you can see here, he brought in 80,000 a year instead of 20. There was about, and just to make sure you guys can remember the numbers here, because I know sometimes it becomes a lot. The original here, so we're going to have this stay right here on this number of about 5.7 million at the end, as opposed to, and just stick with me here, because I know this is a lot, guys, but it's important. If I put this back to 20,000 a year, so remember it was at 5.7, and we come back here, what you're going to see is it's a big difference. And so now you can see it's 4.1. And so if you really understand what just happened, is this person's going to be okay either way, but 1.6 million, that's the difference in what we just saw. And let's just be clear on what I just showed. What I showed is this person stops working 4 years earlier, finds something they actually enjoy doing, but it pays pretty much half to what they're making today. And so these are different alternatives. Some of you guys are going to be like, oh, I get that you're excited about this stuff, Ari, but so lame. I'm not doing part-time income. I don't even know. I know you talk about this, but how are people going to even do that? Like, I'm going to leave my job. I don't want a new job. I've been doing this for so long. When I'm done, I'm done. Great. Then what you should do is not consider what I just showed you. You should not worry about part-time income at all. I actually like when people don't even plan on it. If it's there, it's a bonus. And instead, you go dream bigger. Because, yeah, look, this person could retire at 55. With their legacy goals, they're still $3 million. And so what you want to do is go, okay, what would I really love my life to look like? And where should I be saving new dollars? And if this person's like, look, I like flexibility. That's something I value. I'd love to walk away from a job knowing I'd be okay if, God forbid, something happens. Well, this person has a lot of assets, but they're largely locked up. Now, he could access this 401k here. And the reason he could access this is at 55, you have the option to tap in to use your 401k as a vehicle to start turning on income. But it's not optimal. And the reason it's not optimal is you still have to pay taxes. So this is why if I'm this person, and I hope this person doesn't necessarily do exactly what I'm going to say, but this brokerage account, I would love this thing to get ramped up way more, because this brokerage account and the way this is invested, this is the most important thing that I'm worried about today. Not worried in terms of are they going to be okay, but worried in terms of, are they optimizing? Because this brokerage account, and then Lucas, I'm going to come to you in just a second for any thoughts on this as well. But this brokerage account, what I'll see oftentimes is people go, oh, wow, I see the value. It resonates. If I want to be more flexible, I get a brokerage account in case I want to retire early and do different things. Okay, I got that. And then what they'll do is they'll actually kind of take that advice and not follow it by continuing to work 10 more years to get this brokerage account so big to the point where they go like, so Ari or, spouse, are you comfortable? I've got $1 million in my brokerage account. And that's where I'll go, I didn't necessarily need it to be that big. I just need it to be able to bridge the gap and really help with some tax strategy. So for this person, I'm proud because they have 230,000. That's a lot of money that, look, they worked hard. Like they make a healthy income, but it's not $1 million a year. They've had to be putting maybe 12,000 a year for, I don't know how many years. So for this person, I'd love for this to get closer to 300,000-400,000, giving them a few years of income and optimization and more buffer to essentially avoiding this opportunity or risk, should I say, of getting unlucky. Now, what we're going to go into in just a second is, okay, like how is this person invested and is it optimal? Because I think that is one of the biggest things that will really dictate their retirement success. But on loose advice, once again, no actual advice. I don't know this person. I haven't spoke to them in any way. Is saving new dollars that they don't need to add to pre-tax dollars. Now that's hard because it's like, I want to get a tax deduction today. They already have so much in pre-tax. They did a great job. Their retirement is not my concern. I would even say from 70 to 90 is not really my concern. It's the first 5 to 10 years that I go, we need to get that right. So I'm going to go into some things in a little bit, but Lucas, any thoughts from you as you're seeing us kind of poke around?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. I'll change the view here so we're a little bigger. But we had a comment about IRMA brackets, and someone's like, what gnaws the back of my mind is IRMA bracket, the IRMA effects of a part-time job. Well, that part-time job might have health benefits that you might be eligible for. And this person's spouse was self-employed. So if you're married and you're at that point, you could both dial back where, you were previously making, $240,000 with your bonus back to $20,000, $30,000 a year at Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever. These are all different jobs that like we know clients and different people that I know have done, and they have health benefits. So now they don't need to go get marketplace health insurance and IRMA's not affected. Their spouse can dial back their hours as well. And they were so swamped and so thinking I need to retire as quick as possible because I'm drowning at my current workload, that once they start working that 20 hours a week, they're thinking, oh, this is better than I thought. Now maybe what else could I do? But if you're only thinking about the IRMA effects or your superhero account and earning your income, you're going to miss those giant factors in what could be the next 10 years of your plan. And then your retirement looks better than you ever imagined. And you spent that 10 years living the life you want to live.
Don't forget your next thought, because I know you have another one on that. But I want to go over, you just said IRMA. Like, what the heck is IRMA? Well, guys, this is something that a lot of you just don't know about, because how on earth could you if you asked us anything about your world? But this is one of those things that I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to share it because you need to know about it. I'm not saying it's something you don't need to worry about. It's an important thing, but it's oftentimes something I'll tell my clients. Part of why you're paying us is for advice, good advice. Do this, do this, do this. Other times it's, here's something that you just don't need to worry about. It's like when I went, I remember sometimes I try not to be, but I'll ask a lot of questions to my physical therapist. And if they're watching right now, because I know sometimes they do, I'm very grateful. Okay. But I'll ask a lot of questions and I'll say, look, my hip's really bothering me. I do this one soccer move and it still pinches. I don't know why. Can we look like maybe it has to do with the ankle or maybe it has to do with like the calf? And can we look at that? And they're like, yeah, I get why you're asking that, but like you're just totally off because that's just like not what you do. And I'm like, oh, you're so right. Like I remember like that's how I'll explain it to clients too. So the point here is this IRMA, it's an additional cost that applies to some of you, not all of you. And so this is basically in the world today in America, like this is a marginal bracket system we're all applied to, whether we want to or not. And so this is, if someone, their income is $193,000, the first 10%, well, that's just as whether you're me, Lucas, or Bill Gates, that's how you're taxed. Then the next 12% and 22 and so on. But then there's a new schedule. And that's exactly what Lucas is going over. These are IRMA surcharges. Basically, it's extra amounts you have to pay every single month, but you don't get anything for it. So you're like, okay, so like I pay, but I don't get anything. And Hoy is bringing up a good point here. He's going, analysis paralysis. Now that we learn more about Social Security and IRMA and RMDs, like now we're more concerned about the tax impact versus like being happy and enjoying the fruit of what you've worked so hard for. So Hoy, kudos to you. And Hoy, I remember your comments at the beginning, by the way, when you started like watching our content, it was more of like, hey, tell me exactly like the optimal approach, which of course we want to do as well. And LSU Tiger is agreeing. Go, hey, it seems like there's so much more in retirement planning than like anything else. And there is. So Lucas, just want to highlight, you're exactly dead on. And let's assume, Lucas, like we didn't pay attention to this. Yeah, it's a big deal. Like you could be paying $4,000 a year every single year, all of you guys, for both you and your spouse. And it could be completely unnecessary and you don't get anything. So you could be spending $8,000 a year for the next 30 years and get no value for it with no good planning. Well, that'd be a stupid way to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. So love that. Lucas, did you have another thought?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember our episode we did with Cole Craven from Move Health, which is our referral partner for pre-Medicare health insurance. Just think of it like that. And there's, similar to IRMA, there are brackets for your advanced premium tax credit. And so if this person, with their spouse being self-employed and them being, it looks like, salaried, if now they're moving to a position where they're on that marketplace insurance pre-Medicare age, so pre-65, if they did retire in this case at 55, well, if they earn a ton of money, they're not going to get much credits, and they're basically going to have to pay market rate for their health insurance. And so there's just a lot of factors that may or may not be important to your plan, right? So if his $20,000 a year job has health coverage, now there's a giant factor that just doesn't really matter anymore, because it could just come out of his salary and they live on what he takes home and what his wife makes. And
Beautiful.
so that point that I really want to get across is that the fear of IRMA or marketplace insurance cost or whatever it is, don't let that paralyze you from thinking broader and having a broader perspective on what possibilities are actually out there.
Yeah. It's like worrying about like, oh, should I do this exercise, like you should exercise. And yeah, you need to make sure you're using the right things. But like I know I have a friend who's like, I don't work out unless the gym's open. And I'm like, well, if the gym's closed, like just go do push-ups outside. Like you can still work out. It's almost like kind of an excuse in a way. So not calling any of you guys out. We just want to make sure that we're being transparent here. And I love this. Like LSU Tiger, this is our goal as well. Like I'm hoping I can have enough to hire Root and not have to worry about, like, that's our goal too. Like that is, peace of mind is the number one reason we exist. Guys, there's over 140 of you guys here with us right now. Just put in the chat, not asleep. We are hearing from some of you, but we are not hearing from a lot of you. If you're driving, or we get it. But guys, let us know. Are you still here? I know we just went total nerd on you and we went into IRMA and other things. And
this is the retirement coordinator position that we talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Retirement job. You're getting a part-time job whether you like it or not. So
yep. It's almost like, oh, that's your point there. Yeah. You guys might know this story. And guys, I don't break up these things. Lucas and I, we don't do this to bore you with stories, but like you just saw, like we went in deep and we love doing this, and we would do another 10 hours on this, but we don't want to lose you guys. And so we'll break up with true stories, because that's what a mentor of mine once shared with me. What's up, Peta? What's up, Julia? Not asleep. Cool. Okay. As long as you guys are not asleep. Sleep with one eye open. I'll take it. Okay. Still here. What's up? Okay. So this was what, oh yeah. I spoke to this couple. I remember them now. I'm like, when you like think of someone, you're like, I'm looking at their face right now. And I said, hey guys, so like, what's, when are you planning on retiring? And they go, we already retired. And I said, okay, cool. Awesome. Like you beat me. How's it been? And they're like, well, it's good, but I just don't know. And I said, what don't you know? And they're like, well, I think we're in a good spot, but I don't really know. And I said, I don't believe you. And they're like, what don't you believe? I'm like, I don't believe that you're retired. And they're like, well, you're nuts. You don't sleep next to me. How would you know? I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. And they're like, well, you're crazy then, because how the heck would you? I said, look, I think you have a new job right now. And they're like, what's that? I go, well, you just told me for 30 minutes you've been worrying about healthcare and long-term care. And I just showed you why you don't need to worry about any of those things in any capacity. And they're like, okay. And then I said, well, I bet if you ask your investment advisor anything at all, they're going to tell you, if it's tax related, to talk to a CPA. And your CPA will say, talk to your advisor. I think you're going to be like a middleman for the rest of your retirement. And they're like, yeah, isn't that like how this works? I go, no. So I believe you were retired, but I believe you have a new job. I think you're a coordinator. And that's what Lucas is referencing here. Awesome. What's up, Vince? We were watching a lot of Root videos. We started getting panicky with our retirement financials and future. We had a meeting with Ari and developed a plan for the next 5 to 8 years. Awesome. Vince, I talked to a lot of people. I'm trying my best to remember you in my head right now, but I appreciate the comments. Please don't take that as like, how can you not remember me? You said on our meeting, I was your favorite client you've ever spoken to ever. GV still here. This is why I log in, not to hear about Gen Z HR. Well, GV, I'm going to pass that along to our head of culture. No, guys, we try to keep it fun here. There's certain things that just aren't going to apply to you. And so we try to be strategic with what we share and don't share. Janice is here and Janice is amazed. So Janice, why don't you just tell GV to take a nap? No, I'm just kidding. Wide awake and running on the treadmill while watching, listening. Guys, should we all like pretend to be running? So like we're all in like the same, no. Do you guys ever, this is funny. I saw a meme of, and then we're going to go to the case study one more time. And then I'll tell you the proposal story if you guys want to hear it. I'm with you, M. Tiffy. Who could fall asleep when there's retirement planning? And M. Tiffy, you will come on the show. My team and I have seen your messages, and just so you know, we see you. Lucas, have you ever talked to someone with a walking treadmill? Like through Zoom, not just through Zoom.
Katie pulled hers out like last week.
Okay. So I was talking to someone on a walking treadmill, and it started to get like, I'm like, are you like heavily breathing right now? And they're like, yeah, but like I didn't work out earlier. I'm like, look, I believe that you're paying attention, but I also just don't think so because I just don't know how your brain could think at the degree that and so it was one of those things that I'm like, why am I getting angry? And then I'm like, am I angry because like I didn't work out today and I feel like I should have, so they're working out. So I'm like, am I jealous? No, when you're jealous of like, I didn't get my workout in today, or that's what I think at least. And then so then I was like, maybe I should get one. And then I like, I'm just so weird, as you guys probably know, but I like kind of, it sounds crazy, but I'm like kind of practice. I was like, okay, what would this look like on Zoom? If I'm like, so guys, here's what I'm like, I just don't think this is for me. Is it weird, Lucas, or what? How does Katie like it?
She's only done it once or twice, and it was very noticeable. I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, oh, I pulled my treadmill out. I think Monica, I might be mistaken, but I think Monica has one as well. And we were in a meeting a couple weeks ago, and I just see Monica going like this. And I was like, what is she doing? You know, it might have been the little elliptical one, but
Yeah.
I don't think either of us could walk on a treadmill and do what we do.
I think I'd start sprinting. I think I would just like get so hyped. Yeah, I agree. I no shame to any of you guys. Do any of you guys do it? Let us know. Are you guys actually doing it?
In Katie's defense, it was, I think that I had set up that meeting to ask her some questions.
Okay.
So she probably was like, Lucas is so boring. I got to get something done while this is going on.
Okay, let me see. Okay, guys, good comments coming in. Let me just see here. Okay. I will not, sorry guys. So there was at one point I offered what's just called like a one-time planning session for, it was $5,000 or $10,000. It was just me and that person, 2 hours. We go do everything. We don't offer that, and we probably will not be offering that again. I like doing it, but there's also a part of me that's like, hey, we need to do proactive planning, and just doing a one-time plan, like even if it was 50,000, it doesn't really matter. You need to do ongoing work. I heard about this, an under the desk elliptical bicycle instead. Nope. When I'm at work, my butt is glued to the seat. LOL. Yeah. So, Jen Patrius was infamous for, if you wanted to brief it, make it. Okay. Some of you guys are talking to each other. All good. Vince, it opened our eyes to more options to conversions. Ari told us not to worry about Irma and enjoy retirement. Yeah. Sometimes that's my feedback, and sometimes I'm super mean and I'm like, you should travel, but not to the degree that you think because of XYZ, and still you're going to enjoy it. But like, we're leaving so much money on the table. I need us to have a balance. Other times it's exactly what I told you, Vince. So good work there. Okay. Going back here, this, and then proposal. Oh, how cool is this, guys? Jeff, watching and working at my part-time job. That's like the best comment of the day. Other than, did you see that one messy comment, Lucas?
Yeah.
Someone said Messi is recreationally employed. I'm like, I think my life is complete. For those of you who do not know, I made up this phrase called recreational employment, which is, I believe everyone wants to work. They want to do something. They just want it to be fulfilling, and they don't want to have to do it if they don't want to do it. And so I'm recreationally employed. Lucas is recreationally employed. We're working because we want to, not because we have to. And that was not the case at my previous employer. It was a job and I needed to do it. And that's the deal. So, I believe Lucas. Okay. Let me see here. Yeah, and Libby, like, I don't even blame you guys. Like, guys, I got a lot of these emails. People were like, "What do you mean, $10,000 for 2 hours?" I'm like, "Look, I could make it less, and then too many people book, and then the service sucks." And so, like, look, I don't even think I'm worth that. Like, it's not even a worth thing. It could be like Jane. It could be 100,000. It's not even kind of about that. What I realize is I want to help a certain amount of people at a certain time, but mainly we want proactive planning. So, with that being said, let's go back to this case here. And this we won't spend too much time on, but the brokerage account, if we pull this up, we can see how this person's invested. So he has the S&P 500, which is this VFIAX. How cool is that? The advisory industry came out with tickers so that we feel smart. And then you can see we've got what are called just money market or cash reserves. And so we can see there's 200,000 bucks in an S&P 500, 40,000 bucks in cash. I don't have a concern with, I'm not like, oh my gosh, what is this guy doing? But I am thinking this is like the most important account, and it's where we're going to pull from first when you retire. And so the thing is, we don't want this crazy risky where all of a sudden, like, guys, what if this person gets unlucky and says, I want to retire in 3 years? That's what's going down. And then he checks his account, and then, oh my gosh, it's not 250 in there. It's $100,000 because markets didn't do well and he just got unlucky with timing. Well, that would really suck. And so you don't want to run that risk. And so this is something that I would encourage. Hey, no issues with this growth. If this person's like, hey, I'm going to keep working until 59, no matter what, you have no idea. I love what I do and I'm going to keep doing it. Then I'd encourage this. I'd be like, I actually like this. And you can see he has a cost basis of 50,000 and value of 190, which means this is what he bought it for over here. And this is what it's worth today under value. So if he were to just go sell, like there'd be a ton of taxes. So you don't just do it willy-nilly, but there are people that I will talk to who are like, I don't want to sell. And this could be a concentrated stock position. This can be this position because of the tax liability. Guys, if you all could see the people that we talk to that would have begged to pay capital gains taxes, you would think very differently. And so the risk is a stock doesn't do well or a fund doesn't do well. And they're like, I didn't sell because I was worried about the taxes. And now it's like, I would have done anything to pay taxes because I would have come out on top. So my favorite super quick story here is I had a client that reached out who their child, the client reached out, say, hey, can you talk to my child? I said, absolutely not. I'll never do that. No, I said, yeah, let me talk to him. And so I spoke to them and they were like, I am going to decline my bonus. I said, that's weird. Why are you going to decline your bonus? And they're like, well, I thought about it. It's fancy them, I said, what'd you think about? And they're like, well, kind of a big shot and I'm making more and more money. And so if I get a bonus, I'm in a high tax bracket. I'm in California. I don't know where you live. I'm like, I'm in California. And they're like, I didn't ask that. I'm like, sorry. And then they're like, okay, no, that's not how it went down. But they were like, okay, I'm going to decline the bonus. And I said, it's a net positive. You will make money getting the bonus. You'll pay more taxes and you'll have more money. And they're like, yeah, I don't know if you've thought through this. Like, I know I could get the bonus. Like, it's like, you're not hearing me. I'm going to have to pay more taxes. And so it's not worth it. I go, oh, like, can you determine how much work you do? Are you saying it's not worth the work to get that bonus? And they're like, are you not listening? I'm going to get the bonus no matter what. I'm like, look, either I'm a bad listener or you're a bad explainer because there's something missing here. And so we had like a nice transparent conversation. And by the end, they were like, I'm taking the bonus. And so, yeah, guys, taxes, it's one of those things you have to pay it. I wish everyone could be as strategic as we are because this is something that we're all about being patriotic, just not to the point you pay more in taxes than you need to. So that's our little phrase. We're in the Roth IRA. Guys, we're going to give some credit here because look at this. You guys see this value index, stock market, all world, X super fancy, yada, yada, yada. This Roth IRA is this person's best account and he's got all 99%. I'm going to give it to him. All growth. Awesome. That's what I like to see in a Roth IRA. So part of our job for clients to be like, great, big fan of this. I would encourage this person. I would encourage all of you. I do like the company Vanguard, but I put out this video. Okay. Lucas, don't answer. Let's let other people. Guys, what are my thoughts on Vanguard? Do you guys know the analogy, the grocery store? If you search on Google why Vanguard isn't optimal, this is going to come up, unless I'm shadow banned. But you can see why using Vanguard isn't optimal for your investing strategy. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to put it in the chat. Don't watch it right now, but you can watch it in a little bit. Guys, do you know? Put it in the chat. Why is it I'm not the biggest Vanguard fan? Why do I think they're okay, but why I'm not the biggest Vanguard fan? I will let you guys answer, and then we'll get back to it. So, guys, put it in the chat. Thank you, Lucas, for the disclosures there. Yeah. Oh, Mark, you're going to love this one. There's some curious decisions people make about taxes and spending $1 to save a fraction. Guys, the best meme going on right now is the write-off people. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but people are like, I'm going to do a write-off. And they're like, you still are paying money. And they're like, I don't think you heard me. I get to write it off. And they're like, what does that mean? It's like, I don't know. The write-off people deal with it. I'm like, you're the write-off people. And so a write-off is just a discount. It's not something that you actually just get for free. Yes, paper plates at Whole Foods. Vanguard is Aldi's, low expense. Pretty good. Basically, Vanguard is great. It's the dollar store. You're going to eat. Food is important. You can eat at the dollar store. Is it optimal? Probably not, because let's assume I'm the most undisciplined person ever and Lucas is super disciplined. Well, what happens if I'm like, Lucas, I don't care about your thoughts. I'm going to sell because I'm scared. Lucas is like, this doesn't seem fair. Like, I'm super disciplined. You are selling because you don't know what you're talking about. Why is that negatively impacting me? So if you guys want to go and look into depth of that, you can see that video. Did I put it in the chat? Maybe I forgot.
No, you did. Yeah.
I did. Okay. Thank you. So then there's the paper plates. Yeah, guys, don't go to Whole Foods and buy paper plates. That's throwing money into the trash can. You don't need to do that. And so that's a perfect example of like, okay, well then what do I do? That's what I talk about in that video there. So with this person, I like this. Vanguard is, give it a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's way better than so many other things, but it's just not optimal. So if you want optimal, check out the video I put in. And then regarding the IRAs, like guys, I'm proud because some people will come in here and, for example, it's super conservative. I mean, 30% stocks or 40%. Yes, you're correct. I like dimensional better. See Muckley. And if you're in the academy, you can see more information on that or any of the videos. But you can see here, 84% equity, 16%. We're not going to go through it. Maybe we'll do it in a future episode, but we have something called root reserves. And I'm going to show it to you guys real quick to just kind of end the episode. I'm not going to show you the document, but I'm going to show you the logic. So the logic is basically, and I think all of you guys should do this like right now. You should know what are your root reserves. And if you're 5 years out from retirement, generally your root reserves should be 0 and you should be 100% equities if you are a person with no emotions. Now that's a blanket statement and there's a lot that comes with that. And DK is like Vanguard has some of the lowest expense ratios out there. And I'm like, DK, you're right. Why don't you just only go to Vanguard, the dollar store, to eat all of your food? And you're like, well, I mean, maybe salmon from the dollar store doesn't seem up my alley. I'm like, why not? It's the cheapest, if you see what I'm saying there. So for this person, they're not retiring until 59, but let's assume I forced them to retire at 55 and I did not let them work part-time, which I don't get to decide their lives. They get to decide. And they want to spend, I'm going to show you guys how you can see how much they want to spend. Go to retirement and then go to cash flows right here. And then go to summary. And then we can see like, what are their expenses? How much they want to spend, expenses, goals, and all these things. I'm going to keep it simple. We're just going to say 200,000. Now it's not exactly that. It's going to change, but we're going to say 200,000. Okay. Ready, guys? Stick with me. This is how simple we break it down. So they want 200,000, okay, to live after taxes adjusted for inflation. If they want 200,000 and they're like, we're comfortable with volatility. We just want to make sure we're kind of doing what you guys say I should do. Okay. 200,000. I want to make sure that they have at least 5 years of super safe income. So if something happens, they're not like unlucky. That's the idea. Okay. So that's $1 million. Now we don't want that in cash. We want it in something super safe. It could be inflation protected securities, bond funds, different things. Okay. So $1 million. Well, they have $3 million. So this is me going, hey, like no matter what, like we need, once again, $1 million and something super safe. But the reality is if they have a pension or they have Social Security or they have part-time income, that means maybe their root reserves don't need to be as much. For example, if they want to spend 200,000 a year, but they have 50 coming in through a pension and part-time income, they don't need 200,000. They now need 150,000. So now, bada bing, bada boom. Oh, now we don't need nearly as much. We need 750,000. So then it's like, wait a second, that's let's assume we have a conversation. They go, you know what, Ari, I'm actually more comfortable with volatility, 4 years of expenses. If you say I should do that, great. But I feel like I'm not worried. What would you recommend? Well, maybe we'd have a conversation. We determine 3 years of expenses. Just hypotheticals here. Let's assume we decide 500,000 is the sweet spot. Okay. 500,000, super safe, no matter what. Okay. Well, we can really easily take out a calculator and go, okay, 500,000 divided by the 3.2 million or what they have. That's basically about 16% that they should have in safe assets of some kind to help create income, which means 84% of it can be growing like crazy. And some of you are like, wait a second. If I'm getting older, shouldn't I be more conservative? Shouldn't I be safer? And I go, absolutely. Safe is not running out of money, not volatility in the short term. So root reserves and getting really tactical about this. I'm going to show you guys a document so you guys can get super jealous. And then I'm going to tell you the proposal story. Do you guys want the proposal story? And I'll be honest, if you guys are like, hey, enough personal stuff. Okay. Back to the numbers. Look, okay. Guys, I do not take that stuff lightly. And I want to make sure I'm making the most of our time here. But some of you guys have commented on YouTube. So I'm going to go to when we talk about root reserves, so you guys can kind of see it. Now, this is not in the academy, but this is something that when we're working with clients, we get to design a portfolio. So this is someone I was just talking to. They had $5 million that their primary account they're going to withdraw from was the brokerage account. 3.6 was in other stuff. So IRAs, Roth IRAs, they didn't have any other taxable accounts, inherited IRAs. There's different counts here. So the different accounts, we need to make sure that they have enough safe money. So they wanted for the next 5 years, 400,000 a year. So 8% of their portfolio needed to be in something safe. Now, do you think this number is going to change? Of course. What if markets do really well? What if markets don't do well? Okay, well, it's a moving thing. It's like I tell people, be a retirement boxer. Be willing to be dynamic. That's how you have success. So, guys, that is what I wanted to go through on the case study. Was that helpful? Okay, not asleep and proposal. Okay, yeah, fast. Imagine someone's like, absolutely not. You talk about you and your fiance all the time. Enough of that. Get to the conversions. Okay, so I'll tell you guys the story. So you guys are going to make fun of me for some of this. And I know some of the comments that are going to come, but you guys can be as transparent as you'd like. So the first thing is I got in trouble, not in huge trouble. And let's just make sure, I wish I could look at the members, see if compliance is here. I'm not going to get in big trouble, but the first thing is, so I live by UCLA. My fiance teaches at the UCLA Lab School, which is like an elementary school for a lot of super gifted kids. Some of them are brats. I hear about them a lot, but that's like any school. Some of them are really cute. Not the point. The point is, I wanted to propose really somewhere special because who doesn't? And I'm like, look, our second date was at the Getty. So who's been to the Getty? Put that in the comments. If you have not been to the Getty, you need to go to the Getty. Lucas has not been to the Getty, but Lucas is coming to California for our team retreat. So Lucas, if you need more root Ubering, you can certainly do so and check out the Getty.
If you see a guy on the bus in Los Angeles in a couple of days with a Root t-shirt on and a Root suitcase, that's me.
Lucas is going to be traveling around in one of these. We got the Root swag coming in. Hey, if you guys didn't like Josh, that you're crazy. But you want to know why we all secretly love Josh? Well, he gets us awesome swag. Okay, so the Getty, Luis is like, I love the Getty. So I go up because I want to propose. Yep, love the Getty, amazing views. Cool. So I go up, and you guys probably know this about me. Maybe. I'm okay with rules. I'm not great with rules. And I believe rules exist for a reason, but when they're silly, it just really irks me. So what I did is I went to the Getty customer service. I said, look, I'd like to propose here. I saw some people on Instagram did it. I'm not asking for the whole thing unless you guys want to give it to me. And I was like trying to get a laugh out of them to silent. I was like, okay, bad start. But I said, look, in case you guys want to, rent it out and, I'll do my YouTube show here live. No, I didn't say that. That would have sounded really bad. So I said, look, I really want to propose here. I saw on Instagram, some people do it and I just want to confirm it's okay. And can I get like a certain section queued off, like a movie premiere with the red, whatever they call that. And they said, there are no proposals allowed here. I said, I totally get it. Just the thing is, I saw on Instagram, some people have done it. So I get it if I'm like not supposed to do it, but like, is it okay if I do it? And they go, no, it's not allowed here. I said, totally understand. Is it okay? Can I talk to your manager? I just want to make sure, like, I'm not saying I don't believe you. It's just, this is the most important person I care about in all of life. So if I could propose here, it'd be pretty cool. And they're like, oh, fine. It was kind of like when it's so funny because I'm young, but you know, when people are like, oh, young people, that's what I thought. Okay. Cause I'm like, look, I'm not hurting anyone. Just let me propose. They're like, absolutely not. And by the way, there's cameras everywhere. I'm like, okay. So manager comes. I go, look, I just spoke to your associate. I know there's technically no proposals allowed here. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to do it anyways, but I would really like to be able to propose here. I want to do it. I just want to confirm, is there like a big rule or something? They go, my associate told me before you came in here that you were going to try to say something like that. I'm like, oh my God, I have two versions of this associate now. And so I go, look, I can feel that I'm not going to win this one, but this is where the emotions got the best of me. And I said, look, I have no idea what your favorite food is. No idea. I'll take a wild guess. There's good restaurants in LA. Like, I don't even know your favorite one. A lot of people like In-N-Out here in California. Other people want a little fancier. If I do come propose here, which I'm not going to do because it's not allowed, but if I were to, you might end up with a nice lunch. And they said, did you just bribe me? I said, no, I did not bribe you. That's not what happened. I just am just saying, I really want, our second date was here. And I'm like now getting into it, you know? And they go, you are banned from the Getty. We do not appreciate people like you coming in and thinking that you're better than the other guests here. I go, look, what if I'm just really quiet in the corner? No one's going to know I'm here. And they go, absolutely not. And I need your driver's license because you are going to be banned here for 6 months. I said, okay, now I'm just curious. It's a very specific time frame. Why for 6 months? Guys, I haven't even told you how I proposed yet, which I will do in a second. They said, why am I banned for 6 months? They go, I don't think you're going to wait 6 months to propose. I go, is this now like a spite play? Is this what? And they just go, have a good day. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm not a big Getty fan. I know Jeff is like, what? But that's how it went down. I know. That's what I was thinking.
All right. You did
Yeah.
not offer them a free coupon code for the early
Oh my
retirement
gosh. I should have been like, optimize 20, the Academy, say less. I messed that one up. But let's just say they're not my best friends, but I am still technically banned. We have not been back. I told the story to my fiance after I proposed because I thought she was actually going to be mad at me because we don't go that often, but we go often enough. And they do not allow proposals. So, yep, if you try, Eric, yeah, no, PETA, it was awful. But regardless, we still had a good proposal story. So it wasn't the classic, but what ended up happening is at UCLA, it was a really warm day. And I had planned this for about a month with Alice is adopted. She's one of 6, and her mom raised 10 children. So her mom had 4 biological children, then had 6 children. One of them was adopted from the US, and then Alice is one of 5 adopted Chinese daughters. So they're all Root Collective calls and tells the Getty. That'd be hilarious. I know, it's ridiculous. I proposed up the coast at Point Doom. Doug, I grew up in Point Doom. Doug, where'd you do it? Is it at the Headlands? I'm going to guess the Headlands. Doug, you can tell me in a second, but I'll tell it to you guys real quick because I know that was a longer story. So I wanted to propose at UCLA. Alice and I spent a lot of time at UCLA early on in our relationship. We met on Hinge, and so we've dated 6 years as of February 15th. And so what happened is I set up, some people have like a friend take a photo, but I was like, I want to make sure I get the right photo. So I hired this company. And by company, it was 2 people, husband and wife, nice couple. But I think we were one of their earlier, I found them on Instagram and like, maybe it's to a fault, but like I like hiring people where it's not a big company because it's just more personal. And they had some cool photos. So I said, hey, you want to do ours? And they're like, absolutely, like very encouraged. So I'm like, look, I'm always, not that you could screw it up. You can't really screw it up other than like missing the shot entirely. And so they were great. We had like 2 sessions where they're like, here's where you're going to propose. It was in the sculpture garden. Alice was a history major. That's where she graduated. It was a whole thing. So I said, look, it's not perfect, but it's also walking distance for organization purposes. I wanted it. So it is 2:00 on a Saturday. I decided that we are going to walk. Now, it's about 15 minutes away. And if you guys cannot tell, I am very pasty, okay? Whenever Alice and I go picnic, I bring an umbrella because I will sunburn like you cannot believe. And we will picnic where Alice will read and I'll read or watch soccer highlights or whatever. And so I go, Alice, I have a special picnic planned, and I had a picnic basket, obviously no food in it. But I guess I could have, but I put no food in it. I just had like a speaker and I had a blanket that said, "Will you marry me?" and all of that. So I'll put some photos in a second. But I was like, okay, I need to get the timing right because the people that I've been coordinating with this are like, I need the shot and I have a wedding. I have a proposal I have to go to. So now I'm like, I'm extra rushed all day. Alice is like, hey, what are we going to do today? And I'm like, let's picnic at 2:00. She's like, that's like oddly specific. I said, trust me, the lighting. So at 2:00, she didn't really see it coming, but short story long. Yeah, that's right. Short story long. I basically said, hey, we're leaving at 2:00. We leave. And she goes, why aren't we taking the umbrella? I was like, oh, okay. So I think that was her first inkling of like, maybe something's coming up here. So I go, okay, we'll take the umbrella. And now we're walking. And there was a key word I said early on. It was a warm day. We're sweating. We're sweating and we're walking to this location where I'm going to propose. And like, she wants to look pretty and, I want to not look like a mess. And so in these photos, the sweat levels of what you'll see is you won't be able to see it in these photos, but in some of the photos that we have, it's just horrific. And so what ends up happening is we get to the location. I go, Alice, will you just stand there right quick? She goes, oh, you're getting sunburned. Then your neck's going to hurt later. I'm going to have to hear about it later. Do you want me to go get the aloe vera? And that's like, I'm about to propose. So we're in a sunny spot because that's where the person wanted me to do it because that's where the exact photo would be. So we go and I say, hey, Alice, will you marry me? And I did a little speech and it must have been the sweatiest proposal kiss in the history of kisses because we never have walked that far on a summer day. And I'm like, oh, what am I doing here? Vince, yeah, the Getty parking lot, you'll probably get in trouble that you'll be banned from the parking lot, but you can probably still go to the Getty. Okay. So ridiculous. So I ended up proposing and then Alice is like, okay, like, what do we do now? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I guess you could like call your sister or your mom, but like, let's just do it when we get back. She's like, okay. And then boom, I had everyone at the apartment when we got back. So that was cool. And that's how it went down. So banned from the Getty, but I had a very sweaty proposal kiss.
There's going to be a riot brewing for the first collective meetup here already. So
Oh, okay. We'll have a Getty. I'll bring some photos up real quick just to see. Let me have it. Yeah. I mean, also like it's a proposal, just like let me anyways. I wasn't like I would try not to be fuming in the moment, but it's like, when you're going to ask someone something, but like, they're going to say yes. That's kind of how I was like, well, I know they're going to, and then I'm like, oh, they're like really not going to allow this to go through. Okay. So let me pull up a photo real quick. Let me see here.
if it makes you feel any better, my brother got married a year or two ago, and it was in Pennsylvania in June. And we were optimistic on the weather because it was typically low. Like it was
Okay.
typically 70, whatever. And it was like 83 degrees. And we were all wearing 3-piece suits. And it was quite hot. We were all sweating, just waiting for the ceremony. So you're not the only one. And that was the ceremony. That wasn't even the proposal. So
Wow. Yeah, okay. Well, guys, do you guys have any other good stories regarding marriage? Let us know in the comments here. Let me see. I should be able to pull this up faster, so I apologize. Let me see.
I have to take a shot because of all the Florida shots. You and hearing everyone talk about California here at Root. I thought that for all that state income tax, you got good weather guaranteed. Like I thought that was part of the deal.
It is good weather, but not for my skin. But it is good weather. I will say that. Okay, let me see. Sorry, guys. This might take me.
We have a proposal on 112 degrees in the Grand Canyon.
Oh my gosh.
Might
I
have you
mean,
beat there.
I think yeah, in terms of sweaty kisses. Let me see here.
While Ari is looking for that, I'm saying 112 degrees, that I went to Crete when I was probably 8 or 9 on a family trip with a bunch of my relatives from Sweden, and we went to Knossos, which is one of the oldest human civilizations that you can visit as just a tourist. And it
Okay.
was 118 degrees, and there were people getting heat stroke all over. And because we were not in the United States, there's no such thing as a water fountain. A lot of the rest of the world, and all there was to drink was European orange Fanta. So we're right there with you, Grove.
So you were just absolutely decked up on sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I've got the photos. Here it is. Okay, you guys are now going to be the ones that are going to get the inside scoop. So I'm airdropping this right now. Hawaii is good weather guaranteed. Waimea is 70s year round. Oh yeah. Oh, Hawaii. That's where we should have our retreat in reality. Guys, on that, some of you guys are aware in the future. Yeah, I want to have a retreat for like all of you guys that are like clients, people that watch the show and content. It's going to take a while, and it's a bigger project than I thought to get that done. So it will take a minute, but I wanted this specific photo, which is why I made you guys wait. So thank you. And the reason is, so you guys see how we're in the shade. So I proposed on the top of this hill, which is why she was really confused. This is us recreating the photo. What you cannot see are the sweaty pits, which I will admit you can kind of see right there, from us being very sweaty. Sorry for that zoom in image. And then all of this for the photos that we took after. I'm like, I got to be in the shade or my body's going to hurt the rest of the day. But I did it up at the top. And so I even thought back being like, why didn't I have the person that was taking our photo? Why didn't I we tried to find another spot, and they're like, look, it needs to be in the sun if it's going to be. I'm like, okay, like you're the experts. And she was like, okay, I'll get the aloe vera. I'm like, I'm about to propose, anyways. So it was still good. Guys, that's all I had. But I do, and I'm going to let you guys go. Not that you guys don't have to be here, obviously. But in this collective, there are we have a few people helping out moderate things. So if you guys ever join, like right now, you can see there's memberships pending. There's actually a link that I've been told we're supposed to use. So let me stop sharing just for security in case I mess up anything. But let me just I approve all of these, by the way. They all approve. It's just we have to do it this way in case like scammers or whatever get in. But if you go through, Lucas, there's one link I'm going to send you so you can have it. So instead of joining directly through the school.com, which is where it's hosted, if they join through here, and they can automatically get approved and go through. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. You guys can see here that when you're in here, obviously, if you're a client, you can say, hey, like it's helpful for people to go, hey, why did you join Root? So Jenny, I believe you're working with Chelsea. Tell me if I'm off there, but Jenny, I believe so. And I appreciate that. So go say why you love Chelsea. What's awesome about her? Because a lot of people reach out and they're going, who should I work with? And why is this person over someone else? Vince, I actually proposed in a parking lot at a fancy restaurant. At least we had the San Francisco Bay Bridge in the background. Yeah, Vince, that's a good one. Maybe we're going to we could say best proposal story in here. And then I'll put this clip. That's a good post. But this is one I wanted to reference. So if you guys have not seen this, this is an episode we put out today. Let's see if I can. That's weird. Okay. There are some great stories in here from James where we talk about saving and spending. And basically, this is someone left a comment. They had literally a 10 million net worth, and their husband yelled at them for drinking Fiji water. And so, yeah, Mark, the chat in the collective is high signal, low noise. Keep it up. Come and contribute and learn and share. Yes. So guys, check this out. If you have not, we have a lot of cool stories. And this is really for those of you who are saying, hey, I want to learn how to become a successful spender. But the reason I'm bringing this up is we have moderators in this chat. So like some of you guys will say, hey, there are people like sending me messages about like making trades and different things and different. So what's up, Jenny? Oh, Jenny, awesome. Katie is awesome. You're going to love Katie. Love it. In terms of this, so if there's people that like hit you guys up or send you guys messages, just send them to me or Lucas and we'll report them and ban them from the group. It's really easy. Like, I don't want ever like compliance to say, hey, Ari, you guys have to take this down because there's people in there that are doing things they shouldn't do. Like, that sucks for all of us that really want this. And so if you do see there are people that want to actually, try to sell you something, whether it be trading or otherwise, like just let me know and we'll get that removed. And then please, yeah, go in, contribute, chat in here. I think it's really something special. So that's all I got. Lucas, anything else that you want to leave everyone with today?
Same goes for YouTube. And actually, if you guys really want to help us out, there is a fake Root Financial Twitter or X. If you can go report it, you would help us out. And all the spam comments you see on YouTube and in the collective, we don't have as many, but always just report them, and you can help us moderate without us even being there. Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Guys, if you need anything at all, seriously, shoot me a note, email me. Every week, we're going to have special guests. Next week is probably Thursday afternoon. I cannot promise, but probably. We have a retreat internally next week. We're all going to Palm Springs, all 41 of us. And so we might maybe Lucas and I can pop away and do a retreat episode and go live from there, which I think would be pretty sick. So we might do that. Maybe we do it when we get back. We don't know, but stay on the lookout. Eric, glad that you like it. Case studies, I'm going to try to do all of you guys, but be patient. We'll see you guys next week. Hopefully you guys like this episode. If so, please drop comments on the YouTube chat, not like the chat here, but like a YouTube comment, because that's where people can come and see what's it actually like. They're not going to click on the chat replay. So